Let me say that diversity, equity, and inclusion programs open up the doors to knowledge about how an organization is operating. It's important to know what kind of representation there is and whether that representation is a reflection of the population that this organization serves. And so I believe that the very first important step is to ensure that you have the data. And that's what diversity, equity, and inclusion programs can do. It can see what the numbers are. And then it's up to the organization to do something about it.
So I see a DEI very simply as a very divisive way to teach our kids to judge each other based on skin color, to look down upon each other, or to hate somebody because of our skin color. And I'm so thankful that Americans are now seeing it. We're seeing such a lack of unity on campuses right now because this DEI mess has been taught for so long. And personally, I think it's an insult, again, as I mentioned before, for someone to say, in order for me to succeed, then based on my skin color, I will be given different privileges. Or if your skin color, you'll be not given those privileges. That is not the American way, and we're not going that direction. And thank goodness we're waking up, and we're going to get back to where we look at each other from inside out, not outside in.
I believe that it was devastating for our communities. And I say that as a person who taught in the community colleges for 20 years. We were a very diverse community college system. And what I came to understand was that educational institutions are better if they reflect the population of the United States. And so the Supreme Court ruling gutted race-conscious admissions policies. Now, these were not quota systems. I want to be clear. What they were was a system in which they allowed race to be a consideration amongst many factors in terms of who they admitted to their colleges and universities. And that's why we felt that these race-conscious admission policies should continue. But no, the Supreme Court struck it down. And now it has had multiple effects because now we see House Republicans trying to gut DEI programs in every federal agency.
So when it comes to affirmative action, the best thing we could have done is gotten rid of it because it only works, it's only applied when it comes to intellect. Keep this in mind, football, basketball, any sports, anything physical, we're not asked about affirmative action. We don't look at the numbers. We just look at the ability to perform. Only when it comes down to intellectual skills, when it comes down to grades, we lower the standards. We allow blacks to get into these institutions without having the ability to compete intellectually because they have not been trained intellectually. And the first thing that happens, they start failing, and that failure begins to perpetuate because all of a sudden we begin to believe that we can't do it because of our skin color. It is so anti-American, and I'm so thankful we're getting past it. And it will bring to an end the whole concept of DEI because it's about meritocracy. And I can say this, my race can compete against any other race if given the same opportunities. Just give it a chance and we'll prove ourselves. And that's what we proved back in the days when I was growing up.
In fiscal year 2020, the federal government spent more than $665 billion on contracts. But minority-owned businesses often struggle to win federal contracts, depriving those companies and communities of billions of dollars in opportunities that are out there. And according to one study, had minority-owned businesses received federal contracting dollars in 2020 in proportion to their share of the U.S. business sector, they would have received $64 billion more in federal contracts. Now think about the multiplier effect. If those minority businesses were able to get those contracts, how much more money could have gone to minority communities in which they do their spending, in which they do their hiring. I think this would have gone a long way in reducing the income disparity in our country. So this is why we are always asking for the data, because unless we have those figures, we don't know what's really going on.
How should government grant funds? How can we pick those who are going to represent us? Who's the best? Who brings the best product at the least cost, the best experience? Period. It's called meritocracy. Anything else is cheating our system. It's cheating those who paid the price, worked hard, sacrificed to do what they do to get that position, to get that opportunity, to take that away from that person who's actually paid the price because of somebody else's color or somebody else's culture or somebody. That is cheating. That is a lie. And it not only discourages those who want to work hard, but it gives an entitlement process and mentality to those who don't want to work hard.
I mean, one simple step that we could do is look at President Biden's cabinet. He's made sure that that cabinet is diverse. And indeed, it's incredible how it represents all sectors of our society. And I believe that they are able to make better decisions for America because they represent all kinds of points of view. They represent the different communities of our country, and they are able to gain the confidence of all the different sectors of our society.
If you plant the seed of harmony, you're going to get the harvest of harmony. If you plant the seed of divisiveness, of anger, of judgment, you're going to get the product of anger, judgment, and divisiveness. What we're seeing on our college campuses today is exactly that. They've been trained to teach. They've been taught this stuff at DEI for decades. So we're getting kids coming out now because everything is downstream from education. We're getting kids coming out of the college system. They're going into the corporate world. They're going into wherever they're going into, they're going to these different areas. And what they're taking is the education that they were taught into these areas. We get in a country today that's more divisive than we ever have been before. It's worse today than it was back in the 60s. Why? Because in the 60s, at least we had a country of empathy. We had a country that recognized bad and good and evil. We came together to bring our country together as a nation, a more perfect union, because we saw evil for what it was. We have kids coming out today have no idea what evil is.
I do anticipate future attacks in states, Congress, and courtrooms based on this kind of reverse philosophy that whites have been disadvantaged. But if well-intentioned people operating in good faith come together and defend DEI programs and similar initiatives and improve how they function, we can reverse this trend against DEI, and we can improve our country and improve the opportunities that are in our country.
Everything is downstream from education. My mission as a congressman is to bring back the education that provides a good look about our country, the mistakes we made, but more importantly, how far we've come. The concept that we can become a more perfect union, because no one in the history of mankind, other than one, has ever been perfect. And that means our founders were not perfect, but yet they understood, they were humble enough to know that they weren't, and put it into our Constitution and understand that we can become better. Well, we have to continue to realize that and not take the advice of those who think they already have everything. They're the very best. They will never make mistakes. Don't listen to people like that. Know that we can all get better, and we will continue to do that. And as we look at our country for where we were even 60 years ago, I was the third Black American to go to University of Miami. Guess what? We don't even count Blacks Americans at the University of Miami now. Who cares? We just want to win. At the end of the day, whoever brings the win, put us in the winning column, that's who we're going to respect. And that's what Americans always done until we got into this Marxist process of DEI and CRT. And now we know, thank goodness, we're going to change that process. And I can promise you this, we're going to make sure that college is accountable for outcome.